Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Community Committee meeting. And I'd like to declare it open at 3:31 p.m. Before we start, I'd just like to hand over to Group Manager Chrissy Trigg to introduce our new governance assistant.
Good afternoon, councillors. I'm very pleased to announce that we've got a young lady joining our team, Georgia Brazil, who's joining us as our governance assistant / group manager assistant. So she'll be just shadowing the meetings for the next couple, and then she'll be taking over some of the meetings moving forward to assist with Caitlin. So just a warm welcome to Georgia.
So welcome, Georgia, and we'll just move on to agenda item 1.1, which is apologies. I have an apology from Francois Timhai. I don't have any other apologies. The questions from anyone? Any discussion? Can someone move the apologies and second them, please? Councillor Reynolds moving and Councillor O'Keefe seconding. Thank you. Do we need to vote on them? Yeah. All those in favour? Any against? Right. Okay, moving on to agenda item 2.1, which is members' interest. I would like to declare members' interest in agenda item 3.3, which is the revitalisation fund. At the time that these two applicants were in place, I was working for EPIC and I was also chair of the Carters Beach Reserves Committee. So it's a non-financial interest, and so I will chair through that discussion. I won't vote on it, but I will take part in the discussion itself. Any questions on that? Okay, any discussion? No. Can I have someone move that the members' interest be moved? Councillor Rutherford, and seconder Councillor Hankston. Thank you. So moving on to all those in favour? And against, and carried unanimously. Sorry, sorry, Councillor Webb, are you against?
Yeah, I was against that conflict. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good. Yeah. Cool. Moving on to agenda item 3.1, the subcommittee update. I'll ask Group Manager Chrissy Trigg to just give us an overview of this update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been a lot of ongoing work for our subcommittees in the last 12 months plus. So this report just gives an update as to progress that we have so far. There was an email that went out to our subcommittees last week just to keep them advised as anything that was going to be discussed today, and we'll be in touch with them following this meeting just to let them know anything is appropriate. Primarily, we've got a few new additions to our subcommittees and also some people coming off of our subcommittees to note. There's been a considerable amount of work done on a subcommittee handbook that has been long awaited. That's just going to be a little bit more of a support for our subcommittees, just to let them know what the role is, how we can support them, noting that the people on our subcommittees for our reserves and halls are all volunteers. They're doing this for the love of their community, so do want to be very appreciative of them for that. Also covers on there some health and safety, which I believe that just needs to be brought a little bit more into the spotlight that we're going to be working through. We also want to support our subcommittee with funding requests internally and externally, so we've been keeping touch with them on there. Just to note, the chair and deputy chair of the community committee and I have met to discuss how we can progress some of the high-level governance items that we want to get underway, such as the reserve management plans and the finalisation of the asset management plans. That's something we'll be working with Councillor Dave Hawes on to ensure that we've got a unified approach across all of our subcommittees. And lastly, just that we are proposing an introduction of an onboarding and offboarding process. This follows a few requests from subcommittee members and the people supporting, just to ensure that we've got greater transparency on how we have people join and finish up on our subcommittees when they wish to do so. It is quite an in-depth report, so thank you for reading through, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Webb?
I'm glad that you are going to clarify that, because my question is, I know that there's been a resignation on the Anangahua committee, and that's not listed there. So I'm just wondering whether it is whether the chair and the secretary and that know what they need to do if somebody does resign.
Thank you, councillor. That is something that we've added into the process as to exactly how that happens, and how we're notified. And the subcommittee update will be a standing item on the community committee agenda, so we can make sure that that happens in regular time rather than the big delay such as today.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Sampson?
Just on that subcommittee handbook or whatever it is that going to be in hard copy or online, please, because of changing of staff? Yeah.
So it is designed as a hard copy. We'll be able to send it out as an electronic copy as well, but it is a handbook that can be printed out and stapled, and it's designed beautifully. It's to be able to make it nice and easy to read through, and not be lost within the depths of the information.
Yes, well, my concern is that once it's out, that changes in staff and that handbook is going to hang around, and we could have it outdated fairly quickly.
Noted, councillor Sampson, and that's a good point. We will have a version control on there as to how much, when we update it and what version number it is to stop that from happening.
Councillor Curnow?
Yeah, thanks. Just speaking as a new councillor and therefore as a new council representative to one of our subcommittees, I'm just hugely impressed by the degree of energy and commitment that volunteers in our community have. And I'd just like to ask that that be acknowledged insofar as that request for information and action are responded to in a timely manner. And maybe if we can look at the terms of, I know this is happening, when we look at terms of reference for the subcommittees, we need to acknowledge the power of volunteerism in our community, probably something that we're going to increasingly rely on. Just as an example, I think currently the procurement rules in those terms of reference are unnecessarily restrictive. We want to basically create fewer barriers, not more barriers, and maybe allow those subcommittees to flourish. And if that's the case, the whole community will benefit.
Thank you, Councillor Curnow. There has been some discussion that we've had with Group Manager around also an action plan to be added to this agenda, but the items on that from subcommittees would be around the big topics like health and safety, when reserve committees have asked for items that have to do with health and safety in particular, or perhaps capital expenditure. So we have asked for that to be added in the future.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just regarding health and safety, I touched on it last night with the reading. Obviously the City Council, our council, BDC, PCBU, therefore it's under the Health and Safety Act and what have you. But what we're talking about here are volunteers, and my understanding is that the volunteers, had this discussion before with people, volunteers are not subject to PCBU. So I'm just a little bit concerned about pushing the health and safety legislation onto volunteers. Can we just have some, I can leave it on the table and do some more research on that. But
thank you, councillor. It's a good point, and that's one of the things that we want to acknowledge, is that there's different levels of responsibility, some legislative. So we've got some people cutting the grass on the reserves. We just want to make sure they're doing so in a safe way. The equipment is safe for them to do so. So that's something else that we're working through. What's a council responsibility? What falls to our volunteers? What falls to officers of council as well? So that is something that I know Councillor Hawes has been passionate about, that we've been working through.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we all, There's a difference between a volunteer organisation and a council organisation with volunteers working in it. So if you take Department of Conservation, for an argument's sake, they are responsible for the safety of volunteers, and that came home loud and clear after a drowning up in the Horn Heights or wherever they were doing, water sampling. So there's a difference between a volunteer organisation like a cycling club or something like that, and working as a volunteer underneath another organisation.
I think too, you'll also find now that lots of those volunteer organisations, like I could give an example of the Kawaturi Coastal Trail, we have quite a strict health and safety, quite a strict health and safety regime in place, because we want to make sure that the people we have who are volunteers are safe, and so sometimes it is a voluntary thing as well. Any further questions?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Not a question, it's an observation. I think Councillor Curnow must have read this evening's Westport News already, using the term volunteerism, and I just wonder if he's got an insight to it.
Cool. If there's no further questions, I would like to move these recommendations separately. So just so that we can acknowledge those who have resigned. So I'd like to move the first draft recommendation that the Community Committee acknowledges the service of outgoing subcommittee members and formally accepts the resignations listed. Is there discussion on that? Rosalie?
I read through those. Second, isn't it?
Sorry, I need a seconder first.
The resignations and that, but I thought there had been some resignations and appointments at Seddonville. Was that correct? Through the chair? And I thought there was a resignation. Michael. Oh, that's okay.
So yes, actually, good point. We do have an extra person. No, hang on. Yeah, we haven't captured it in the appointments.
So in the resignations, we're dealing with this item first. If we have any changes to the list that we are certain of, is there anyone that would like to make any changes to the resignations? Additions? This is resignations. No.
Sorry, through the chair, we probably could, just to keep everything tidy, add Lynn Carmichael Seddonville. Yeah, because this wasn't addressed with RAC a long time ago.
As a resignation?
Yes, that's
Thanks. Thank you. Okay, is there any further discussion?
Just,
Lynn?
I think that an email should go out. Well, once you're clarifying, because obviously I know there's been some resignations in Anungahua, so maybe an email needs to go out for the following, for that to double check that everybody's lists are up to date. Because I know that I think there's at least 2 from Anungahua.
Yeah, we can do that. Just on that note, before we vote on it, I just want to read out these people and acknowledge their support as volunteers over the last few years. So from Kalamea Reserve, we have Jonathan Cole. From Waimangaroa Reserve and Hull Subcommittee, we have Alistair Perry, Jacqueline McDonald, Sally Brown, and David Orchard, and Andrew Wiseman. And Little Wanganui Reserve and Hull Subcommittee, Kathy Blum, and then myself from Covers Beach Reserve and Hull. Is there any further discussion? Okay, so all those in...
Sorry, are we adding Lynn Carmichael? Should we actually name her as well?
Apologies, yeah, and also we'd like to acknowledge Lynn Carmichael from Seddonville. Rosalie?
And probably Ron Pope and another one that the name just escapes me at the moment from
We can't put it on
Paramount.
if you can't
Yeah.
remember.
So send the thing out and we'll, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll add it to the next meeting.
Yeah, okay. On that note, we
Interesting.
can add those 2 to our next meeting. if we can make sure, we'll send a letter out to all reserves asking for their resignations and their new members in between now and the next meeting, so that we have a following list. Any further discussion, Tony?
Sorry, again, I'm gonna make a point of reading all, this year's full meetings from every subcommittee, so we can actually see who has resigned and come on board.
Just through the chair, so that will be something from the next council, so from the next community meeting, committee meeting, we'll have an updated list of members to add any new ones, and any resignations as well. And we'll make sure that we've got an updated list from there.
Any more discussion? No, so I would like to move the draft recommendation 1 as read and seconded by councillor Hawes. Can we please vote on that? All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Okay, and moving on to draft recommendation number 2. Can I have someone move that we approve the recommended appointments to the reserve and hall subcommittees as submitted by each subcommittee? Can I have someone to move that? Councillor Curnow, and a seconder, Councillor Hankston. I'll open that up for discussion. Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Look, I am a little bit curious as to know, is there any vetting of these people carried out? And is there any actual requirement for them to be vetted? You know, I think we're all aware with a lot of changes and more so in societies that there is a huge raft of legal requirements around people sitting on various boards, committees and what have you. So the question, is there any vetting required of these people? And presumably has it been done if there is?
Great question, councillor. Through the chair, currently there's a process in place where the subcommittee recommends new members to this committee to formally appoint them. The part of the onboarding and offboarding process is to formally acknowledge that we need to formalise that and tighten that up. So there'll be an expression of interest form, and then there'll be a panel of people to have a look through and confirm that they'll be going on to the subcommittees once the subcommittee have been able to recommend that they join. There is a few things that they'll need to be, such as living in the local area, which is defined in the subcommittee terms of reference at the moment. I don't believe there's any legislative requirements that we could put into place, but that is something that we can look into prior to the next meeting.
Rosalie?
Yeah, well, it must have slipped 3 minutes or something, because we've got about 3 or 4 appointments on the Karamea one that haven't gone through, so.
Do you know who
Do
they
we
are?
just leave
Rosalie?
it to 8?
Do you know who they are?
Yeah, Andrew Brunning, Leslie Cook, Murray Atkin, and Peter Douglas, yeah.
Just through the chair, apologies that they've been missed off. We'll have those added to the resolution.
Councillor O'Keefe?
Yes, and just Courtney Glosstein for Seton Hall Subcommittee.
Courtney Gloston? Councillor Curnow?
Just to check for the records, I've always known Mel Hoey as Mal, M-A-L. I might be wrong, but could we check that, please? Just out of respect.
The spelling afterwards. We will check that. Okay, any further questions or discussion around this resolution? Okay, I'd like to read through the appointments and hopefully I don't miss any from the additions. Yeah, so we'd like, the appointments are Julia Thompson, Waimangaroa Reserve and Hall Subcommittee, Mel Hoey, Waimangaroa Reserve and Hall Subcommittee, Heather Hutchison, Tina Trowbridge, Waimangaroa Reserve and Hall Subcommittee. From Mokanui Reserve Hall and Campground Subcommittee, we have Jeff Woodward, Di Hart, and Tony McNabb, and Joan Climo. Then Little Wanganui Hall and Campground, we have Gabrielle Wall. Karamea Reserve Subcommittee, we've got Andrew Brunning, Murray Atkins, Peter Douglas, Leslie Cock, and Peter Douglas. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, yeah. And then the Sedenville Reserve Subcommittee, we have Courtney Gloston. Is that all correct? Cool. Okay, so I'd like to, if there's no more discussion, we'll vote on draft recommendation 2 to approve the recommended appointments to the Reserve and Hall subcommittees as submitted by each subcommittee. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So moving on to agenda item 3.2, which is the funding overview, and I'll just ask Group Manager Chrissy Trigg to give us a report on this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We thought this was a good opportunity for the newly set up community committee just to softly advertise what funding is available for our community. So I'll take the report as read unless there's any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Chrissy? Any discussion? Colin, sorry. Question?
It's something that's bugged me for a while in terms of we've got 80,000 at the moment, Madam Chair. And in that 80,000, we then grant, for example, CAB or budgeting of people on the building next door. So that comes out of the 80,000, if you like, but there's no money involved. All we're doing is, if you like, subsidise giving them free rent. Now, there's an opportunity cost here, of course, because we could rent that out at market rates, but who's going to take it? Then, of course, there's also the fact that we're doing the public some good and that they can come in there and do whatever. But it's not actually money going from the bank. And I understand it's been raised previously during other terms. And I'd just like to put it on the table at the moment. That's all that I think we need to consider. Are we looking at paper transfers, if you like, or cash?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the time for that discussion. I think perhaps it's when we're considering those applications that we should, but I think it is a fair enough comment, Colin. Rosalie.
That 80,000, it's got the contestable fund 25-26, but it's already gone, hasn't it? So it's not in this financial year at all. So that 80,000, and that's going to be reliant on the annual plan as to how much goes in there. So, yeah.
Yeah. Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Madam Chair. You did ask for discussion. You know, all due deference to our team leader, our Chrissy, don't take anything from this, but I was a bit disappointed in the way it was presented in terms of option 2 being the preferred option. I would have thought it would be far more appropriate to bring the information forward to the table.
You're on the wrong agenda item. This is that the funding report dated 11th of March 2026 be received. I think you're on 3.3.
Oh, I thought you said we're on 3.3. Okay.
3.3.
Righto. I'll hold back.
Blame me. So would someone like to move the draft recommendation that the funding report dated 11th of March 2026 be received? Tony, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Hawes. Okay, is there any further discussion? No. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Right. Moving on to agenda item 3.3.
Can I just raise a point of order, Madam Chair? Just in regards to this agenda item, I'd like the CE to read out the conflict of interest in our standing order 20.8 in regards to your conflict to this item.
Yep.
And that's the non-financial conflict of interest and how it is supposed to be handled.
Yeah, that's fine. I can still chair, but I cannot take part in discussion.
Does it say that you can share?
Just says, not take part in discussion or subsequent vote.
Yeah, it only meant, oh, I have to leave the table.
You can still stay at the table, but you'll need to pass the chair. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I'll just transfer it over to the deputy chair.
I'm happy to move that you carry on chairing.
Well, I'll hand it over. It'll just save conflict. So I'm just going to hand over to the deputy chair. Do you want to chair from there, Tony?
Right, agenda item 3.3, revitalisation fund. Now I'll hand over to Chrissy Trigg to have a wee chat about it.
Thank you. This report comes to the table today as something that hasn't really come up very much before. So we had a project that was granted in full through the last revitalisation fund. The only other fund applicant at the time was the Carter's Beach Subcommittee, which is why this has been tabled. Noting that there has been, it just says in the report that there was no resource to be able to run another fund. So options, as we liaised with the chair of the community committee, was that we looked at redistributing the funds or carrying it over for another year. Happy to take questions.
Questions? Phil?
Yeah, well, look, I'll go back to what I was about to say before. I find it a bit disappointing the way it's been presented to the table as almost a fait accompli. The recommended is the option is for option 2. This is a whole new council to the council that considered this application originally. And while there was possibly only one other valid application at the time, I don't know that there's any guarantee that if this one had not been presented, that the other one would have gone ahead. We don't have any information on that previous application. So we're just taking staff's word that it would have been a good opportunity. I would have far rather been the paper being presented with outlining the background, but not concluding it as a recommended option. I just want to put that out there. Chair.
Thanks, Phil. Anybody else? Yeah, so Linda?
So my question is, so why can't this, it says there's not enough time to re-advertise this year. Why can't that funding, this grant be re-advertised, given that we are only in March?
Through the chair, we've got limited resources with advertising, our comms team, our governance team. So it's not, we don't have enough resources to be able to do it in the next couple of months with everything else we've got going on with our existing workloads.
Thank you, Linda. And thank you, Chrissy. Dave?
I didn't sit on this previous revitalisation prioritisation funding distribution meeting, but in other funding meetings I've attended, you go through and you prioritise them, then you draw a line at the level of affordability. And that means that by default, before they get on the list, they're basically reviewed, prioritised and approved. And then the funding line goes in. Was that what happened with this?
Through the chair. So only the eligible applications would have been brought to the table. It will be recorded on somewhere if you wanted to go and see it.
So with that process in mind, that if one above the red line doesn't go through for whatever reason, then the next cap off the rank and priority order goes up and gets approved. That's my understanding of how it was done. And I would have no problem if Carter's Beach Hall was the next on the list of priorities.
Linda?
I guess we're still in questions. My question is around, like Phil had said, that given my recollection of that meeting, it wasn't a case of we'll fund the EPIC there was no appetite to fund the Carter's Hall stages. So it wasn't that we were trying to choose and one bid out the other. It was basically we chose Epic and Carter's Beach. If we hadn't chosen it, Carter's Beach wasn't going to get it by default. So I would query whether that is the method. I don't see that written anywhere that that's what the recommendation said. If Epic fails to deliver on their project, then it automatically will go to Carter's Beach. That wasn't the resolution on the table.
Thank you, Linda. Chrissy, did you want to respond to that?
Only thing I'll note is that, again, this is something that we've not come across before, so we're trying to do it in a transparent way and just put the other eligible one. However, we are happy to take instruction from the table.
Thank you, Chrissy. Colin was next.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Revitalisation, when it first came out around 2018, the long-term plan, it was to do with outdoors, the outdoor environment, revitalisation, and we also have community funding, what have you. So I'd like to know why, if someone can answer it, why are we looking at something that is indoor for revitalisation when it's not outdoor? The second point I'd like to make, please, is given that we were originally looking at, second question, that we've been looking at just about a 10% increase, even though the money might be in the bank and it might have been an agenda item from October 2024, I would have thought it's a bit rich now to say, well, we've got 50 grand here in our back pocket. Let's go and do a no-bowl stage. So can you please answer why revitalisation, and two, given our restraints at the moment, why has there been a recommendation that we now move to something that we originally discounted, please?
Thank you, Colin. Chrissy, I'm going to let you respond to that.
I believe, and Caitlin will be able to confirm, that there's the revitalisation funds are for revitalising assets. And so it's I don't believe that it's internal, external only. And she will just double check. The other thing, councillor, is that this money, to coin a phrase, has been rated for. Our ratepayers have put this money up to be used by revitalisation purposes. That's what was agreed upon. This was the only other application that was eligible for that fund. Take your note completely that we are trying to save all the pennies that we can absolutely everywhere, which is why the option is on the table for it to be reabsorbed or redistributed if you so wish. It was just that our community volunteers miss out a lot of the time, so this was just to give another opportunity through the same funding round.
Thank you, Chrissy. I'm going to take one more from Rosalie and then put it to the vote.
Okay, I had quite a lot of flack as to the money even being allocated in the first place, $50,000. So even though you say it's been rated for, well, it just goes back in the pot and it's 50,000. We don't have to rate for next year. The other is that if we turn around and give 15 to the Carter's Beach, it still leaves 35,000. And if we haven't got time to re-advertise for the whole 50,000, well, we're still going to have to carry 35,000.
Right, yeah, we are still on questions. So I'm going to now put it to the vote. Who would like to move?
Madam Chair, I'll move option one.
Yeah. So option one is that the community committee allocate the required portion of the return.
No. Option one is the status quo.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, well, we're into discussion now. Anyone would like to discuss this?
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Well, we don't actually know here by how much money we're talking about. We've had 50,000 returned from Epic, and the draft recommendation is that the required portion go to Carter's Beach. I don't know what the required portion is. Does anyone else?
No, sorry, we don't know what the required portion is yet. Chrissy, can you speak to this, please?
The resolution was worded that way. Just since that's come out, they've applied since, and the cost had gone up with materials because the quote would be out of date now. So the idea, I believe it was covered in the report, was that the exact same thing would be, if they were successful in that, what they would, if it would have gone up a couple of $1,000s, it would be covered, but absolutely no more.
I understand that, but they would have applied for a figure, and it allows for it in the recommendation that it be upped if necessary. What was the original figure is what I'm asking.
One moment and I'll just find that for you.
Thank you.
Just without having the exact figure, I believe the original figure applied for was 15, and then the last quote that they provided was about 25. We hadn't asked for them to get another quote because we didn't want it to look like it was a predetermined outcome.
Thank you.
One more from Rosalie.
Oh, I said it was 15, and I just, for another group, was looking at that the other day with that company, and it was 15.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't see Linda's hand up. Yes, I'll just do one more from Linda.
One more.
Are we in discussion or?
Discussion, we're in discussion, yes.
Yeah, standing orders allows up to 3.
Yep.
For and against, yeah. So I will be voting for this motion because I think, for transparency's sake, I think it's very unfair a year and a half later to then give money by default to application that was, didn't win the funding round. There was, when it's sitting around the table, there was very little appetite around the table for it to go to Carter's Beach. I really think that it should be going to a project that's not 6 minutes drive from Westport Centre, thinking about revitalisation. I think there's a lot of other projects around the place, and I think it should be a fair process for other organisations and that to be able to come forward and fairly contest that fund. I don't think it's it's disappointing that staff are saying that there is no time to advertise for this grant, given it would just be a replication of the advertising and paperwork. It would just be a change in dates. So I don't really accept that. So I'm for this motion that status quo, it should be redistributed to some other projects that are higher priority.
Thank you, Linda. I'll just give the last right of reply to Phil because he was the mover.
Point of order. I haven't spoken to this portion, and I've had my hand up for a while.
Anyone was 3, but okay, Ray. Sorry, I missed you out there.
I believe it's 3 each way, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would speak against the motion, which I understand is currently on the floor, in favour of the original draft recommendation 1 on the basis of the provisos that are in that draft recommendation. We're asking the group to come back with an updated quote and asking them to confirm that the proposal is in line with specifications of the original application. We're here, I've said it before, we're here to support local groups. We had a local group that put significant effort, I believe, I wasn't on the council at that stage, put significant effort into making that application. And I think we should, at the very least, give them the opportunity to reapply.
Okay, Dave.
3 each way, sorry.
Okay.
So I agree with Ray. I will vote against the motion because of the explanation that was given to me by staff, which I have no reason to discount. Yes, I wasn't there. But to me, if you set a funding priority, people put their submissions in, you draw a line based on affordability. Those that fall below the line, unfortunately, don't get funded unless one above the line withdrawals and there's money left over. So I think on that basis, I would go ahead with supporting the local community that put the application in and contested for the funds in the previous financial year.
Is that number three?
Sorry?
Is it number three, Vice?
Okay,
Three against it.
here we go, Dave, pause.
Yeah,
you say?
Can't hear you, Dave. You will
Right,
please-
sorry, Linda. I'm actually, I'm against the motion. I agree fully with Dave Hingston's take on this. And that is purely from a point of view of being, just a completely just and above board and not bringing anything outside. I wasn't part of the funding round. I don't know what happened, so I can only make a decision on what's in front of me. But Dave's take on the way that, any of these things reach our table is quite correct in that they have to meet requirements. And we've got the next item on our agenda where two people that were late getting submissions in for a rural travel fund are not included because they are late for once a year annual travel fund. So once a year, you get a chance to put in. If you miss out and you're a small sports team from somewhere else, you're out of the mix. We've thrown two of them out on that basis alone. So if we haven't got rules and regulation, if we don't follow a process around this, then I think that it's adding a degree of uncertainty and unfairness into the process. So we've applied the rules there. We've said that they were too late getting their application in. They're not being considered. So therefore, there's a list made up that doesn't include them. And then in this instance, we've got a process that went through a selection process. People got over the line. They went up. The funding wasn't there. They were turned down. They were the person that missed out in that funding round. And I think from point of fairness, I fully support Dave, and I'll be voting against this.
Okay, right reply.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Everything I've heard has not caused me to change my view on this at all. We have not had any confirmation to this table that the application at the time would have been approved. None whatsoever. So there's an assumption now from some of my fellow councillors that, hey, they applied, they should get the money. Interestingly enough, Councillor Curnow himself said that get them to resubmit. Well, if they're going to go through the process of resubmitting, then I believe that other organisations should have the same opportunity as this organisation. I firmly believe this is some time ago. This opportunity's come back to the community. It hasn't come back specifically to one group who applied some time ago, and there was no guarantee that that would have been funded anyway. It may have been. Let them, if we decide that this funding will become available for similar purposes. I hear what the team is saying about not having an opportunity to re-advertise, but on the by the same token, we're asking this organisation to resubmit their proposal. Well, if they've resubmitted, so could a lot of other people who might find that they could benefit from this funds that has just become available. So I will be standing obviously by my original motion.
Right, so we're putting to the vote, was it really option one status quo? Is that correct? No further funding is allocated this year?
Just through the chair,
Caitlin?
we're just going to get Caitlin to read out the resolution.
Thank you.
So that the community committee confirm option one as per the report status quo, no further funding allocated this year.
Yeah. Yep, there it is.
Yeah. So we're going to vote now. So we're going to
So
vote.
I just want to make sure.
No, we're actually, sorry. Point of
No,
order.
well, we'll read out the status, what we're voting on, then I'll be happy with that. That
Okay.
no further funding is allocated this year.
That's what
That's what-
Caitlin just said, yes.
Okay.
Can I please just point out that that would mean that no funding, because we don't have anything in the LTP for revitalisation. So if you'd like for these funds to be repurposed for next year, that will need to be in the resolution, that the funds are repurposed for a revitalisation fund in the next financial year.
Point of order. So we're going to go
I'll
back,
move that amendment,
move, yeah, okay.
if you're happy with that, Phil.
Okay, can Caitlin please reword that? Thank you.
So that the community committee confirm option 1 as per the report, status quo, no further funding allocated this year, and that the fund be repurposed to a community-led revitalisation funding round in the 2026-2027 financial year.
Right, can we have our votes, please? 4, this is 4, yep. Okay. Against,
May we call it, please? Well, got it. Fine.
the motion is,
Ask for clarification as well, please.
the motion is lost. Yes, Colin, sorry, to the
Okay.
chair.
We seem to combine option 1 with draft recommendation 2. Am I correct in understanding that? We've got 2 recommendations here. I know Linda changed it. Can you read that motion out again, please?
That the community committee confirm option 1 as per the report, status quo, no further funding allocated this year, and that the fund be repurposed to a community-led revitalisation funding round in the 2026-2027 financial year.
Well, I believe, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I believe that should have been 2 motions as we've got on here.
It was an amended one that.
Yeah, agreed. There's a amended one. So, but I'm not in favour of pushing it forward. I said before, we've got no money.
So we've.
Point of
that
order,
one's
point of order, point of order.
Somebody gonna move a new motion?
So, we
Point of
are,
order, lost. Yeah.
What's your point of order?
yes,
I'm
You
speaking.
need to state your point of order. What's your point of order?
I think, in the interest of good decision making, I think now that we return to the status quo, which would be draft recommendation number 1 on page 19, and we should be voting on that.
thank you. I will read out draft recommendation 1. That the community committee allocates the required portion of the return community-led revitalisation fund to Carter's Beach Hall to complete a mobile stage unit, subject to an updated quote confirming final project costs and noting that it must be in line with the specifications of the original application. And 2, that the remaining unallocated balance be carried forward to the future contestable grants funding round for distribution throughout the community's standard process. Who would like to
Move on.
support? Move that. Dave?
Separate, yeah, separate, please.
Do you want to do them once, one at a time?
Correct.
Sure, I'll move the first one.
Right, so who would like to move draft recommendation 1? Is that Dave Hingston? Who would like to second that?
Right.
Paul? Any discussion on that? Right. Voting? Who's in support of that? Against?
Please.
Name recorded.
On voter.
Uh-oh.
That's a stalemate.
Can I just please suggest through the chair, we could either say that it's going to be just reabsorbed, or the other option would be that we add the 50 to the community grants for the next financial year.
I'll move that we allocate the whole $50,000 to the new financial year for a new funding round for revitalisation. If anyone wants to second that.
Just
I'm just going to
moment,
go
please.
through governance for a minute. Thank you.
Just confirming, we don't have any funding allocated to that, so it's not a fund that exists at the moment, but if there's a resolution by council to add it, that should be adequate.
Okay, so Caitlin, could you read out 2? Is 2 staying the same, or is it going to be an amendment to that?
Council Webb suggesting it would be a revitalisation fund, so there would need to be an amendment to that, because at the moment it says to go into the contestable grants funding.
Sure, sorry. Yes,
Yes. Is it possible that this could sit within the contestable grants as a separate identified amount allocated only for the purpose of that? So we're not creating a new fund, but we can do it within the contestable grants. Is that possible? And then that means we don't have to have any recreated funding or whatever. It's just, yeah.
sorry, thank you. Is Chrissy or Caitlin going to respond to Dave?
Apologies, I didn't hear the question, councillor. Could you repeat it?
It was just whether this could be allocated within the community grants contestable fund round and identified as a portion available for the purpose of revitalisation. Is that possible? So we're not creating a separate fund.
I'd say they've got 2 different eligibility criteria for the different funds. So to keep it cleaner, I'd suggest that we either did the 80,000 that's already been allocated for the community contestable fund and a 50 for the revitalisation, or you combine them for the 130 for the contestable community grants.
Linda, do we need to make an amendment to 2 then? How would we word
My
that?
motion hasn't been seconded. Is anyone going to second
I
it?
think Phil seconded it.
Otherwise it falls off the table.
Good second it, Linda.
Phil did.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Right, we're in discussion time now, but we're just going back to Caitlin to see if she can amend, find some wording for 2, and then see if the mover and seconder could accept that. Thanks for being patient, team.
So that the community committee allow $50,000 be carried forward to a community-led revitalisation funding round for distribution in the 2026-2027 financial year.
Linda and
Yeah,
Phil?
I'm happy with that.
Okay, so can we vote for with that amended? Oh, discussion, sorry. My apologies, this has been quite a long process. Okay, it was Paul first. You put your hand up, didn't you? this under discussion? The motion repeated, sure.
That the community committee allow $50,000 to be carried forward to a community-led revitalisation funding round for distribution in the 2026-2027 financial year.
Thank you. So my question, there's just a
It's
point of
discussion.
a point of
Yep.
clarification.
Mhm.
And that if we do that, if Carter's Beach hasn't applied in this current year, can we also carry their application forward in this consideration?
No. So it's not what we're discussing at the moment. That isn't what's on the table.
Then I would move a motion that I'm in agreement with the motion, as long as Carter's Beach's application can also be carried forward for consideration.
It's already been moved and seconded, this amendment, so it'll just be your hand up or down. Okay, who else was part of that discussion? Was it Colin?
Can I discuss, please?
Sure.
We're actually looking at allocating $50,000 to a future budget. And I'm not aware of us having this committee having the authority to do that. They have an authority to distribute funding through community grants, rural travel and other community streams in line with the long-term plan, annual plan and relevant council policies. Now, this particular amount was in October 2024, so it is not part of the terms of reference for this committee. So we've just spent about 15 minutes on this, and I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated, as you can probably tell. Now, the whole thing is now, what are we going to do with this money? And at the moment, may I say, we are cash strapped. So my suggestion is, it's only 50,000. It's worth about 0.4% on rates, and that we get John to take $50 off, because 50,000 off, because as we've been told by Madam Chair, it's already been rated for. So we're going to take it off, and I'm going to put that forward now because we've spent 15 minutes.
That's part of the discussion. You've got to
Pardon me?
vote on the table. You've got to vote.
Yes, so we need to vote yes or no. So anyone else, any more discussion on this, Dave?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to support that because I think if we don't spend this on the community, we're doing exactly what Ray suggested we shouldn't do. And because we should be supporting our communities, we should be supporting our volunteers. And what I just heard from Colin is he wants to hand the money back and we don't support the community volunteers. That's what I just heard. So I come back to the point that we're not going to spend the money on community volunteer groups if we agree with Colin. So we're going to lose that money into the great fund pool. And you've just disempowered and disenabled the volunteer group out at Carter's Beach in this instance.
Thank you, Dave. I'll have one last one from Rosalie, then I'll put it to the vote.
Right, well, I'll support Colin. While it is said that we're not supporting the volunteers, yes, we are, because we still have the contestable fund, but we're supporting the whole community by putting it back into the pot and lowering our rate by 0.4%.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed the hand there.
I have a right of reply, do I? Understanding this?
Yes, Linda?
You. I just wanted to say the whole reason why I'm moving this motion is because I think it needs to be a fair and transparent process. There is no reason why Carter's Beach Hall cannot apply for that money in this round, because it will be open and contestable to any applicants that meet the requirements, and I think it's the fairest way forward. Thanks.
Right. Caitlin, could you just read it out again so everyone can be clear what they're voting on? Thank you, Linda.
That the community committee allow $50,000 be carried forward to a community-led revitalisation funding round for distribution in the 2026-2027 financial year.
Right. 4. Please keep your hands up. And against?
I'll say, please, I just said before, you don't have the authority in this committee to be able to make this recommendation. And you're doing the recommendation. You can recommend to full council that it be carried forward. But please, I just said before, you don't have the terms of reference to do this.
Thank you, Colin.
So that's what it'll be.
A recommendation.
Basically, it's a recommendation, not council.
So through the chair, what we'll do is we'll take some advice following this meeting, noting that we've got another one shortly. And if needed, we'll bring it back to full council as a recommendation from the committee.
Is everyone happy with that?
Yep.
Thank you. Right, we're now handing back over to Shane. 3.4.
Okay, thank you. Given that we are short on time, let's try and make this a little bit faster. So agenda item 3.4, Rural Travel Fund application report. I would like to start. So we have had 5 applications to this fund. Have we got them? Can we bring them up, Chrissy? Well, Chrissy's bringing them up on the screen. I would like to start discussion off by recommending that we fully fund 2 of the applicants. That is the Karamea Junior Rugby JAB and the Karamea Youth Sports Club. Karamea Junior Rugby JAB applied for $1,950 and Karamea Youth Sports Club applied for $2,000. This is discussion or questions, but I would like to recommend those 2 first as having receiving full payment for the applications they put in. Any discussion around that, Colin? Yes.
2 and 3, I support it.
Is there any other discussion around those 2? Rosalie?
Just in support, both well patronised and hardworking groups. So yeah, I go along with that.
Okay, I'm opening up now. So let's take those as it's being accepted. Chrissy will put the balance up on the screen as we go. Would anyone else like to make any other recommendations around the applications? Colin?
Question, please.
Yes.
In terms of bullet gymnastics, fully support it, but I'm not sure if that's for intra-district travel or inter-district. And whether or not they go down to Greymouth and stuff like that. I'm just not sure where that particular one sits. And also Reefton Rugby Club, I'm aware out of town games should be, once again, intra-district, not inter-district. So can I just get clarification on those 2, please?
Through the chair, I can give the answer for the gymnastics. That's to fund the family members to come down to do the lessons. For example, coming from Karamea down to Westport as an example. So not external to district, internal to district.
Can you I just want to confuse something with. So just confirming that the fund covers territorial authority, which is only Buller District. Yeah. So on that note, has anyone got, let's just get through this. So the Reefton JAB, I had gone through this and I don't know who else has, and worked out kind of a percentage per kilometre per member rate, which was all around 80 cents, roughly. So Reefton JAB, I had put around 3,450 on that note, but I'm happy to open this up for discussion. Linda?
I think to also put it into perspective too, thinking about the gymnastic girls, they are traveling for 4 terms of the year. So that, you know, that's over a year, whereas some of these other applications are only for a 10-week season or whatever their week is. So just thinking about that in terms of their travel, is obviously to subsidise people to do their chosen sport that are rural. So
Yeah. Thanks, Linda. I think also that I'd like to know about the Reefton Boxing Club, because I presume that is all year round as well.
Yeah.
Which it is. Yeah.
Quite, yeah, Reefton Boxing Club, it is all year round, and also it's quite a large group now in Reefton of the boxing club. I can't give the exact numbers, but I should imagine
10
it's-
members.
Yeah, that travel distance, but it's a bigger group within the group itself.
Colin?
Hey, please, they talk about Nelson and Blenheim. I raised this last time. It's quite specific information for applicants. Please note, funding will not be provided, emphasis in here, will not be provided for and may not be used for the purpose of travel to regional or national sports competitions. Okay, that's in black and white. Now, if the boxing people, for example, I've got nothing against the boxing, I support it fully, I've seen it, but if they want to go to Nelson or Blenheim, that's over to them. This travel fund does not support, it only supports intra, not inter district. Quite clear.
I think the Reefton Boxing Club is funding for their training days as well. It's not competition. Dave, did you have?
I just had a question. Is it possible to fund this to a lower level where there's some sort of part payment by the club and there's part payment subsidy by the council?
On that note, and to speed things up, I'm going to put the figures that I had up there, and then everyone can debate them. So the ones I had was Fuller Gymnastics Club, $1,050. And for the Reefton Boxing Club, I had $1,050. For Reefton JAB, I had $3,450. So I'll go through it again for
Fuller Gymnastics.
So Fuller Gymnastics, $1,050. Karamea JAB, $1,950. Karamea Youth Sports Club, $2,000. Reefton JAB, $3,450. And Reefton Boxing Club, $1,050. I would like to move that the community committee considers the funding applications with these decisions, and I now open that up. And Councillor Horse, did you second that? Councillor Hinkston second that, and I open it up for discussion. Colin.
Numbers are correct against 6 and 7, by 6 and 7, I believe 6,050. We please have that look.
Yeah, 1,050.
Sorry.
Well spotted.
Oh, yeah, they're running away.
That's right. Yeah,
Transposed,
that's
sorry.
yeah. Thanks, Colin.
Guys.
Any other, Linda?
I just had a question because I'm just looking at the accountability forms. Did Reefton Boxing get any funding last time? Because I can't see their accountability form in there.
Just one moment. Those questions around accountability would be good to get prior to this meeting, if anyone had queries around that. I don't think, from what Caitlin was saying, they wouldn't have got through to here if we didn't have accountability forms. Okay, Ray.
So I think I'm correct in saying to you, Shane, as the chair, you've done an analysis which basically provides for equity between the Karamea people and the Reefton people based on the number of individuals and the distance travelled.
And I only took into account the distance that was local district.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other,
I'm acutely aware that any money that we give away has to be borrowed. And the people that.
this is not our money.
Not our money.
No, it's a rural
So this is
travel fund.
grants from.
given to us to distribute, so it's taxpayers' money. Taxpayers' money around. One thing that concerns me here, and I'll be abstaining, is that I haven't got a reference to make a firm judgment in that there's figures here that are 3 times what others are claiming. And I don't know whether those that have asked for the smaller amount might have 10 times as many members to serve, and they've just asked for a different figure. Are there figures beyond these that
The members' numbers are there and their applications.
in their applications?
Yeah, they are
okay,
there.
But not in this document,
No, but the applications, we all got copies of them.
it's in a separate document.
Rosalie.
Oh, right, the boxing one, if you turn around and give the 1,050, can a proviso be made? And on the accountability, that money is used for Buller, within the Buller only, rather than going outside the Buller.
Absolutely. I think that should go out to all of these people anyway, that we want accountability forms and that it is only for travel in the district. Colin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I heard someone say we have to borrow that money. This is money that is provided by Spark. And that's why there are some strict criteria about handing the money out, i.e. insure rather than inter. So this is money that we will be granted from Spark once we put our applications in.
Linda, did you have a question or any comments? No. Any other questions, comments? It's been moved and seconded.
So I just want to thank the Madam Chair for the proportionality and the fairness in the distribution of the fund.
It's
I
fine.
haven't seen the rationale, but I'm assured that you did a fair and equitable calculation.
Thank you. Let's hope it is. Okay, so we'll vote on this now. So all those in favour of moving the recommendation and the figures that we have there? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thanks, everybody. That was a long and interesting meeting. So thanks, everybody, for attending. Thanks to media, Colin. That was the only apology I had. Yeah. I don't know. I'll follow up on that. So I like to declare the meeting closed at 4:44. Thanks.